Hey everybody, your friendly GM Bobby here. I just wanted to jump in real fast and set up the second part of my interview with the Arcology Podcast. In it, we talk about the living world of the Shadowrun RPG, as well as storytelling in the Shadowrun universe. We talk a little bit about how you should never kill your players, and at the end, we talk some about the Arcology Podcast's actual play and some little insight on that. I hope you guys enjoy it.
I think every kid could benefit from role-playing to many degrees. I mean, there's a vast amount of skills that you learn playing role-playing games that aren't very well represented in many other hobbies. A lot of them having to do with imagination and creativity, but it also helps with things like math skills.
Sure, yeah.
I'm very, very good at basic math. I suck at complicated stuff like calculus and trigonometry and whatever else you call those fancy different kinds of math. But I can multiply and divide and add and subtract really fast into my head, primarily because of role-playing games.
Right.
I think it's something that everyone should try and do at some point. And I know there was a big fear, I think, in the industry in the early 2000s or perhaps mid to late 90s that this whole computer game thing was going to destroy role-playing. But I think it's pretty well proven that you don't get the same experience.
You know, because I didn't have that experience when I guess maybe I wasn't old enough when I first started role-playing to remember the scare, as you said, or the concern that people had where you know, video games are going to destroy role-playing and everything. I don't remember that, but I mean, was that really a thing?
I think so. I think that's probably a big part of why VASA went belly up. I think that and the
Oh,
Magic the
wow.
Gathering thing. Well, they didn't go belly up. They just decided. Whoever was in charge at the time decided. Okay, this isn't gonna last for much longer, so we're gonna cash in our chips now.
I remember the days when I first started playing. I think was second edition.
Second Age just came out when I started, so right there with you.
I think the thing that really stuck out in my mind and continues to kind of be imprinted on my mind about my first experiences with Shadowrun were two things. The art was so perfectly gritty and captured exactly what the setting was all about, you know, and the fiction was I just remember reading those like intro stories and whatnot, and just being completely. I remember reading over and over and over again the history of the Sixth World. Like that was just that just blew as a teenager. That just blew my mind. Like imagining this alternate kind of like history, and I think that's really what.
What FASA did really, really well, whether it were talking Shadowrun or Earth Dawn or BattleTech or the
Mhm.
ill-fated Vor the Maelstrom, no matter what it was, FASA's approach to any of their game settings was to create an engaging setting and have an ongoing living, breathing world rather
Right.
than to make a game about, doing this or doing that. It's so easy to just get sucked into them, and that's, I think, why a lot of the IPs of FASA, a company who shut its doors a long time ago, have carried on and lived on and are stronger than ever in most cases.
I don't think I'd ever really thought about it until you just said it now that is the first RPG that I can remember thinking like this is a living, breathing, changing world. You know, Dungeons and Dragons, they have the rules system, and then on top of that, people create their own. You know, there are official ones and whatnot, but still,
Sure.
it's kind of like this system that worlds are placed on top of. You know,
Right. Yeah.
and the rules system for Shadowrun is almost kind of like intricately or very intimately involved in the world.
It's difficult to imagine the rules setting of Shadowrun being applied to much of anything else.
Right.
So I have tried it a couple times, and I did run a fairly short-lived, almost X-Files like modern day setting campaign using Shadowrun rules and doing some conversion stuff. But and that was fun. But it's tied into it, at its core.
Yeah, when you try to start doing that, you start to realize exactly how integral it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're kind of skirting around a topic that I wanted to talk to you guys about, the game mastering and the storytelling in particular. Maybe that's something we should talk about, is my perspective of how I think it's actually quite difficult. But when I listen to your actual play, and I'll take a moment to gush and compliment for a second, that you... The story and everything is so engaging, and it seems so effortless, you know.
Well, Mr. J, so you've got books and books of notes on what's coming up, right?
Yeah, very detailed notes, and I make flow charts.
Bullshit. Excuse me.
And I've got all these different interweaving, like mind mapping software that I've tied everything along to, and I don't know.
No, that's what I do when I try to GM, and that's why I never GM.
I'm kidding. All of that is the opposite and antithesis of my GMing style. I don't, when you say it seems, that the story crafting seems effortless, maybe that's because it kind of, I don't really put any effort into it.
That sounds really bad.
It does. It makes me sound really, well, here's the thing. I think a lot about this. What I do is I try to get the mechanic stuff out of the way in that I've got a notebook that I've saved NPC stats and whatnot in.
Right.
And I might have a few notes here and there about certain things that are going on. But for the most part, I then step back and I've got that notebook. I can pull stuff out, or more. Heck, half the time these days I just kind of pull stats out of the air, and nobody really knows. I don't really have a stat block for that NPC that's getting shot.
Right.
But I guess I come up with really simple and quick ideas for what's going on, and I might have some concepts of maybe a certain big event is going to happen, or this particular NPC has this thing that they want to do that's probably going to make things interesting for the player characters, and I kind of plop it in front of them and see what they do with it. It's mostly the other people who are playing that are crafting the story, and I'm playing with them and reacting to them, and I'm along for the ride, and I don't know any more about how things are going to go than they are.
Right. Wow.
There is one particular case where a major NPC gets killed, and I did have that planned, and I kind of dropped that in. There's another case where another major NPC got killed, and I had no idea how it was going to play out.
Sure.
That was certainly a possibility of what might have happened, but based on the actions of the players and the way the dice fell, somebody important to one of the player characters died, and we all just sort of got really quiet for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then went, holy dreck, what just happened?
Right. I'm obviously, Vox is here. I am a major planner, okay? I get anxious about not knowing what's going to happen next. But I feel like it's really good to be able to think on your toes, like obviously you do. And there's, on the one hand, planning kind of helps me to craft a dramatic long-term storyline, an arc and everything. But I always feel bad killing players. I'm that GM, all right?
Well, you should not kill your players.
Say more about that. What do you mean by that?
Should never kill your players.
Characters, maybe.
Yeah, you can kill their characters. But killing their players has many complicating factors that will probably impact your game overall.
Right, and real-life consequences that may impact your ability to GM in the future.
Exactly.
As far as killing player characters go, I love to have, as far as challenging, the challenge level of the game, I love to have moments where both the players and sometimes myself go, oh my god, TPK's coming up. Where it looks so dire and so dangerous, they're going to have to think on their toes and be lucky if they're going to get out of this intact.
And 9 times out of 10, when I'm playing, when you are doing something exactly like that, I don't know about the rest of them, and maybe it's just because I forget my rules, after every single session. I just forget how the game works. Anyway.
Right.
I'll be sitting there. I've got 50 pieces of paper here. I got cheat sheets. I got books all over my screen, and I have no idea what anybody else is doing because I'm too busy trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do next? What do I have to pull out of thin air? so that we don't die.
I love that about your actual play, though. Is it something? It feels like such an engaging story, like I said, but I also feel like I'm just sitting there with you guys,
That's cool.
like I'm not just listening. I'm not just listening to a story, right? Like that would be cool in and of itself, but it really does feel like an engaging story. But I'm actually just listening to you guys play.
Well, I'm curious about that now. Do you think maybe some of it has to do with the table chatter that he leaves in? Because someone just got done asking us, like, maybe something you can do for the patrons or something like that, or some special thing you can do is all the stuff that, from the cutting room floor. But
Right.
Yeah, stuff on the cutting room floor is just like, I have to go use the bathroom now.
yeah, there's like
Nobody wants to
barely
hear that.
anything. Yeah, there's barely anything cut out, and so all that stuff's kept in.
One thing that I think is really cool about you, the way you guys play and everything, is how much, and I've got a question to ask you about this, but how much you guys are almost always in character, and it feels like we're listening to Kit and Tiny and Kid. We're not listening to like Vox playing
I know what
the
you mean.
game. And
That's good.
But I do, to answer your question directly, I do though also like the times when Mr. Johnson steps up and then you just decide to chit chat, and that's really cool too. Because it's kind of a peek at you as players, and speaking for myself, I think that is cool. I don't think it happens too often. I think it happens just the right amount of time.
Awesome. Cool.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to see the third and final part of the interview, which will be coming out next week, and you don't want to miss it, then go ahead and click the subscribe button. Also click the like button, share it with your friends who you think might enjoy it, and consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/complexaction. Every bit of support over there helps me keep doing this kind of stuff. It helps make the quality better and allow me to spend more time putting out more content. If you're interested in these interviews and you want to see interviews with other people, mention in the comments who you might want me to try to interview, and I hope you guys liked it. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.